Most of the time, Kezari did her best to avoid looking at Tynan. But as Lial and Lear shifted their discussion to needed supplies and the best guide to escort them through the veil, she couldn't help but cast glances toward the healer priest. The man had a contained but confident nature, and calm, pleasing energy, most days. Not so now. The color had yet to return to his skin, and air hissed in and out through his nose in a slow, deliberate pattern. Was he so displeased about spending time with her that he had to take soothing breaths? She'd never dared ask if he felt such ambivalent agitation toward her, too. But if he did, perhaps he was as peeved about this mission as she was. Though, in truth, his stiff demeanor looked more worried than annoyed. Surely she hadn't been that unpleasant to him while trying to avoid him. Perhaps those lingering glances had been wariness. She sensed Eris's energy at the edge of her thoughts. "Is something wrong?" he said. "You have that expression that bodes ill for the subject of your contemplation." "I am not angry, merely unsettled," she countered. "Tynan does not look like himself, though no one else seems to have noticed." Eris went quiet, and out of the corner of her eye, she saw him give the priest a quick, assessing glance. "You're right. I don't think he appeared so discomposed, even after my difficult healing." "I suppose I will have to speak to him. This mission will be bad enough without discord between us. If there is any chance of an argument—" "Do you wish for me to come with you?" Eris asked. "I do not," Kezari answered at once. "I would have him speak freely, and he may not with the patient present." She probably wouldn't either, but she didn't want to offend Eris by saying so. "If you'll pardon me," Tynan said, drawing her attention, "I'll return to my room and contact the head priest to inform her of the continued need of my presence. If there are any details of the mission needing my input, Lial can ask me telepathically." Lear's acknowledgement hadn't finished echoing across the table before Tynan stood, nodding to the group and then heading toward the door. Most days, his soothing energy lingered in the air like an errant gift, but he was so restrained today that the absence of his magic gave the room a hollow, mournful feel. Something was definitely wrong, and she was going to figure out what.
Tynan's insides felt as raw and fragile as poorly formed glass, and his hands shook so badly he clenched his fingers into fists to still them. Even away from the relentless tide of emotions he'd suffered in the dining room, his control was a thin, thready thing ready to snap. How could he have believed such tumultuous feelings had been banished? Desire, longing, sadness, those were the least of what tore through him now. The bulk of it was helpless anger, not for Kezari or the others. The fury, at least, was all for himself. He'd spent so many drips of time in meditation, and had consulted with another healer priest after his first visit here, processing his mistakes. He'd acknowledged how finding a potential bonded had upset the control he'd spent his life working to attain. He'd dealt with the weary self-doubt and despair caused by his near failure during Eris's healing, and by his apparent and unwise bond with Kezari. If he hadn't, he never would have agreed to return at Eris's request. He would never abandon a patient, but he could have found some other way to help. A neutral meeting ground, if nothing else. It had gone well enough at first. Helping heal Lial from a mysterious illness had provided plenty of challenges, and he hadn't encountered Kezari at all. But in the weeks after, Tynan shuddered. He sat beside her at far too many meals, close but impossibly far. He would feel her soul sing to his even as she glared at him, a never-ending cycle of hope, rejection, and resignation. Too much more, and he would crack. He didn't regret helping Eris or Leon, but he should have insisted on returning to the temple immediately after. Now he was bound by Lady Bera's command. He had to get away, if only for a few drips of time so he could center himself without fear of interruption. Though he'd told the others that he was leaving to contact the high priest, that hadn't been entirely the truth. He needed to leash his emotions before he dared do that. Otherwise, she would insist upon his return, and no matter how much he might prefer such a thing, he wouldn't risk disobeying Lady Bera.